Hey guys, okay, first things first, let me show you how I come up with an idea for a page. This is how easy it is. I've been asked this a few times, so I thought I'd explain it at the beginning of this video. When I sit down to do a page, I usually have a bit of an idea in my head of a pattern, a design, a structure, whether I want to have 3 photos, 2 photos, something like that. I've left this bit here in to show you that my brain doesn't always automatically put 2 and 2 together how it should be. Have a laugh at what I'm doing here to realize what it looks like in the end. In the end, it's just easier. Don't complicate things. Just do it. There you go. I actually saw, for this particular page, what I actually saw that gave me inspiration was a camera shutter. You know, a camera, the old school cameras, when the shutter closes. That's what I saw, and I thought, that's what I want to do with this photo. This photo that I'm scrapbooking today is actually a photo that was taken at my sister-in-law's place, and who is sadly no longer with us, but it was taken there literally a couple of weeks after Darren and I got engaged. So I thought this would be perfect. The next thing that was perfect was the fact that I wanted to go to a paper pad that I haven't used in ages, and it's the KAISERCRAFT paper pad, and it is the Memory Lane collection. So it's all greens and browns and earthy tones, and that's what I wanted to use. Now, something I want to draw attention to. See how I'm just drawing willy-nilly on 12 by 12 paper, and I can audibly hear some of you screaming at your iPads, phones, laptops, wherever you're watching this, going, what are you doing? I'm a firm believer, if you have not used that paper, ask yourself, why not, and will I ever? Those 2 questions will give you the answer as to if it's okay to do this with it. I've had this paper pad now for a couple of years. I've got to say, a couple of years. And there is still a significant amount of it left, like almost the whole thing. Because I was really into the greens at one point and the natural sort of colours, but none of my photos reflected it. And don't have a heart attack with the wood either, because I've actually bought so much wood paneling because I love it. Not because of any other reason, but I absolutely love it. But I wanted the lighter part of that particular wood texture. So that's why I did that. Sometimes we hoard things and it just never gets used. And you know what? I would rather make a page and absolutely love how it turns out and have little shark fins cut out of 12 by 12 pages than never use it at all. And then I've wasted my money. So that's just to allay your fears if you're looking at this going, what are you doing, woman? But it's okay. I absolutely love how this turned out. I have sped it up a fair bit, purely because if you're new to my channel, I speed up the process and I leave in the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if, for example, the very first bit, if I had have cut that out, you would have thought that I sat down and perfectly did this without a problem. Without any, and I'm just perfect. I did it perfectly the first time. And that's just not the case. That is just not how it works in the real world. And I really, really strongly want to stress to you guys that it's papercraft. Everything doesn't have to be measured to the perfect millimeter. Everything that you do in scrapbooking, you're creating a keepsake for a sibling, a parent, a husband, a daughter, a son, a cousin, a friend, a lover. You are creating that keepsake for that person. They are not going to pull out a measuring tape, and they are not going to measure if something has the perfect 1/4 inch border all the way around. If it's 2 mil off on one side to the other side, they're not going to care. They're going to care that they've got this beautiful keepsake that they can keep. They may not pull it out every day. They may not pull it out every year. But, you know, sometimes you sit down with a glass of wine at night. I don't, because I don't drink, but anymore. But, you know, you might sit down with a glass of wine. You might be lucky enough to live in a cold enough climate that you have the, you know, the fireplace on, and you're all snuggled up and you want to do something but you don't want to watch TV. So you pull out some albums and flick through the good times, the bad times, you know, and that's why I memory keep. That is why this particular photo was taken at my nephew's, I think it was their 3rd birthday. I think it was their 3rd birthday. And honestly, I treasure this photo. It is one of my favourite photos of my husband and I when we were in our boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. So I don't have many of those photos, but yeah, I absolutely love this photo. And the ironic part is I'm wearing white, and I never, ever wear white. So I didn't even wear white on my wedding day. Sorry, I needed a drink. Okay, my voice is all croaky this morning. I don't know why. Okay, so I roughed up the edges, and don't stress about... Okay, I think I skipped a step. So all those white pieces. Now, the reason I cut them, because it made it so much quicker to just trace them and create the chunks that I wanted. So that's why I did that. I've gone around each edge with the Distress Oxide Walnut Stain, because I didn't want it to be too dark. I usually go to ground espresso, which I do actually go to later on, but I used walnut stain just to emphasize the edges a little bit more. Now, don't look at the fact that I'm putting this on craft cardstock. I bought one packet of craft cardstock about 4 years ago, and it's still going because, I will be honest with you, I hate it. So I figured this was the perfect spot, perfect time to use the ugly craft because you can't see it. I like the thickness and the durability, and I love cutting it because it sounds, it's like, do you ever listen to those ASMR videos? I don't, but every so often they'll pop up and I'll hear it, and then I go, oh, that's like scrapbooking ASMR to cut the craft cardstock. Absolutely love it. Anyway, but I digress. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating my title, which is Hey Future Husband, and, you know, like the song. And I'm just putting it through with, you know, the pieces, you know, the templates. That's what I'm using for the title. So they weren't wasted. Don't panic. They weren't wasted at all. And yes, some of them have the walnut stain where I cleaned off the foam blending stump thing. I cleaned it off on them. Doesn't matter. Why? Because I'm showing you how I make thickers from the thickers, and I use the term loosely. It's obviously not real thickers. Thickers is a brand. But this is how you can, if you are like me and you like big titles, and sometimes you just don't get enough, you don't get enough letters to create the big titles. So you pull out your die cut machine, you invest in a few different letter dies that are going to be dies that you're going to use. So this one is a KAISERCRAFT one, and it's called, what's it called? It's just called Decorative Dies. That's what it's called. Now, I couldn't find lettering, anything on it. That's all it said on it. So what I'm doing here is I'm lining up. I've cut 3 of each letter. So what I'm going to do, and I forgot to cut enough. I cut too many E's instead of U's. See? There's mistake number 2. It's all right. It's okay. Don't stress. Just pop the machine back out. Do it again. Now, something I quite often do is I put a bit of glue on my hand and just tap, very lightly touch my hand, and it adds the littlest bit of glue to the background of the letter, and it works perfectly. What I was struggling with this on this particular day, Art Glitter Glue has no glitter in it. It is super high tack. See, I covered up that brown one. Put the white ones on top. Muzzle tough. I still hadn't made my mind up what colour I wanted to do them. Okay, but back to the Art Glitter Glue. The problem that you have with it is when it's really cold, that stuff sets up in lickety-split. Like, you look sideways for 2.5 seconds and it's set. So this particular day that I was doing this, it was actually still quite cool, and it was just setting up too quick. So I had to switch my hand process and do it what I call the hard way. It's not really hard. It's just you're picking up the glue and putting it down a lot more. So yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm just stacking 3 on top of each other, and I left the whole process in because I wanted to show you how simple it is to create thickers. Now these are now cardstock on top of cardstock on top of cardstock. So they will not squash. When they go in your album, they're not like a foam thicker. They will stay dense. I have to be honest, I absolutely love it. I love when I do these. And I always look at it and go, oh, I should have done that again. Oh, I really like that. And I always forget to do it, because when you're lucky enough to be me and you're lucky enough to have the array of things that I have in my craft room, could I have more? Absolutely. Could I have a bigger room? Oh, even more. But I absolutely love what I have, and I always forget to use my lettering dies. I don't know why, but anyway. So at this point, I was deciding I ended up raising my photo up on a piece of craft foam, purely and simply so that the letters were about the same height, and that way it just sits better in my album. Okay, so this is where I'm using one of the other letters, and I just want to see, is that the color I really want? Do I want to do a whole letter? These are spare letters that I'm using, guys. Don't panic. So I'm sort of having a bit of a play. These are my Distress Oxide finger daubers. So I have pretty much a dauber for each one, and for each color range, I should say. I shouldn't say each one. So here's where I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I've got it. I've worked it out. I figured it out. See, with the paper towel, this is something I wanted to explain to you guys too. It's not in-depth color theory, but see how on my paper towel there, the walnut stain, it actually had a big yellow ring around it. That's like your base color. So you know that's a warm tone. Okay. I can't think of which one it is. I think it's So it's a warmer tone. Some of like the frayed burlap, when you do that, it throws to a cooler tone. I don't know why, but I just felt like I had to tell you that. I am no artist. I am no Tim Holtz. I am no scientist. But yeah, this is what I ended up doing. So I grabbed a dauber and I didn't add any more ink to it from the ground espresso, and I just roughly rubbed all over the letters. And now what I'm doing is, again, I haven't added any more ink because my ground espresso ink is really juicy. So it's on my finger dauber and I'm just very, very gently. I know it looks like I'm going in there hard. I'm not. I am barely touching the letter and I'm dragging it from the bottom and from the top so that I can feel it touching the letter, and I just very, very gently drag on it. And that's how I got that effect. So, yeah. And that way I ended up with a two-tone look without it being... I had to go back and sort of go over a couple of them because they were a bit too light once I figured out how I wanted to do it. And I think that looks really good. It looks kind of woodish. So, yeah, I really liked how it looked. Now, those letters, it was white cardstock. That white cardstock cost me 10 cents per sheet and it barely used any of it, but I used the scraps. So, and now I have a really nice title and it's all toned beautifully and I absolutely love it. And I did go and get the ground espresso just to add the two-tone look on it. And now all I'm doing is adding them on there. So if I haven't bored you to death with my process, I'm so sorry. I'm just in one of those moods today, I think. So I'm trying to... I didn't check to make sure that I had my lettering straight, but I did. So what I like to do is just use my T-square ruler and I'll either put it below the letters or above the letters. Either way, you're getting a straight line. And I just find it's easier, especially when you've got thicker letters like this. It works perfectly. Perfect every time. So now I don't add too much more beyond this. I do actually add some KAISERCRAFT wooden flourishes. They come in a pack and they're from the Bloom pack. Only because it's going to go over that really quickly. And I add 2 lots of hearts on there. And that's it. So that was my page. So if I haven't bored you to death, I would love to have you as a subscriber. And I would love... It is free. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps my channel because it allows my channel to be shown to more people, because that's the hardest part about growing a channel. I also have my social media links below in the description if you want to jump over to our Facebook group where I share the still photos, and I zoom in a lot on those so you can pick it apart yourself if you've got the sort of brain like I have and you'd prefer to look at a still photo and go, oh, that's how she did that. Oh, that's how she did that. That's all on my Facebook group, guys. And it's open for you to post there as well. I have no problem with that. Go for it. And that is my page. So I hope you enjoyed it. This is a bit more of a natural coloured layout for me. I've been doing a lot of bright ones lately. Don't worry, the next one's bright. So I will be back with you real soon. Please, again, like and subscribe. And I do my journaling later, guys, in case you're wondering why there's no writing on my page. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.